What should move us to pray? In other words, what's the motive for prayer? What's the reason for prayer? And two Bible passages will really sum up everything in prayer in the Bible. Matthew 7:7, this is Jesus speaking, ask and it will be given you. And then Psalm 50:15, call upon me in the day of trouble and I will deliver you and you will glorify me. Here we learn the four basic components of what motivates people, Christians, to pray. The first one, A, God's command. And that's so important. I can't emphasize that enough. For example, in Matthew 7, where's the command? Ask! And where's the command in Psalm 50? Call upon me. Now, I don't mind looking at this. You can look at it either way, a command or an invitation. Either way, that's fine. An invitation or a command, that's fine. But now, let me tell you why this is so important. Here's the point. We don't pray just when we want to or when we feel like it. Because what this first point tells us, ask, call upon me. God wants us to do this. Now, the best illustration I think I give, that I can give anyway, if you've ever been a parent, and if you haven't, you can still understand this. If you find out your child had a need or a trouble or something, and they didn't come to you, they didn't go to anybody, they went to somebody else, how do you feel about that? You're hurt. Why didn't you come to us? We would have helped you. Well, that's the way God is. Ask me. Call upon me. And so here's the point. Sometimes, I don't know about you, sometimes I don't feel like praying for whatever reason. Okay? But God says, I don't care if you feel like it or not. I want you to pray to me. And so sometimes, I say, I got to pray about it. I don't feel like I'm going to pray about it. And here's my point. I force myself. And in about 10 seconds, I'm glad I forced myself, because just by doing it, now I'm into the prayer and I'm very happy that I did it. So the point is, pray whether you feel like it or not. God wants you to call upon Him in need and time of prayer. Yes, Don.
I used to think that you only pray in the morning and the evening. But nowadays it's like I'm praying all the time.
Yeah, I hear you. And there's nothing wrong. We're talking about it. There's nothing wrong with having set times of prayer. But we just don't do that. We'll have set times, and then in between those set times, we have prayer too, which we'll talk about. Yeah. So the first one is He commands us, invites us to pray. Okay, the second one is His promise to hear. Well, where did we see that? Well, in Matthew 7, it will be given you. And in Psalm 50, He says, I will deliver you. There's the promises in both those passages, right? So the command to pray, His promise to hear us. Point C, our own need and our fellow man's need. Sometimes I feel guilty that I don't pray enough. There's so many needs in the world, aren't there? You got your needs. You have the needs of your family, the needs of your loved ones, the whole needs of the world, people that are suffering. You hear about some tragedy, some poor kid that was raped by a pedophile. How can you help not pray at that moment for that poor child? There's so many needs. We could be praying all the time, couldn't we? Need. And we see that when He says in Psalm 50, call upon me when? In the day of trouble. Whether it's your day of trouble or your family's day of trouble or somebody else's day of trouble. And then point D, our gratitude. And He says in Psalm 50, and you'll glorify me. Now, I think most of us, and there may be exceptions because I think some people have the gift of prayer. Some are better than others. But as a general rule, I think most of us tend to neglect our thank you prayers to God. We're real good at the gimme prayers. Give me this, give me that. And I'm not against that. I mean, that's what He wants us to do. But what I'm trying to say is we have a tendency to forget to thank Him. Or sometimes we'll be asking for things that we don't have and fail to thank Him for the things we already have, because we just take Him for what? Granted. Yeah. So prayers of thanksgiving. Sometimes in order to make up for my failings about giving God thanks, sometimes when I'm laying in bed at prayer, I'll say exclusively or almost exclusively as I'm laying in bed, nothing but thank you prayers. For the soft bed I'm laying in, the nice pillow, my family, the breakfast I'm going to have in the morning, whatever. Just to give thanks for all the good things that I have. And I suggest that to you too, because if you're like me, you're probably a little deficient on the thank you. And every once in a while, just devote your prayers to thank you for whatever you can think of, so that we're not quite just taking everything for granted. So in those two little passages, we have all the things we need, what moves us to pray. God's command, His promise to hear us, boy, all the needs that we have and other people have, and gratitude, giving thanks to God.